So the world, it's, you know, it's modern times, and but it's taking place where there's been kind of tectonic shifts in radioactivity, and mutations are happening with people, and it's kind of kind of elevating people's natural things. So if you're really a good person, you're usually not affected, but maybe if someone's like on the spectrum of a sociopath or has evil instincts, this radiation can elevate that and kind of exacerbate your true person, maybe. And so there's miscreants, and there are people that have been mutated and are basically the villains in this movie, and they're living amongst us. And so you get to see people, this is taking place in Chicago, and you see people just trying to, you know, go about their daily lives, and there's, you know, buildings are being blown up, places are being robbed, and and no one can really stop them because they're superheroes. And I love that world where it's not, everyone in the world isn't super, and everyone doesn't have extraordinary powers. And then I love that Emily's character, through how brilliant she is, that she was a geneticist, and that she has figured out a way, and it's been her life's goal because her parents were killed by miscreants, that she's figured out a way to genetically modify herself to be a superhero. And then I bumble back into her life and accidentally take her injection that's taken her like the better part of her adult life to create.
Emily, Octavia's character, loses her parents to a miscreant attack. She goes to live with her grandma, and she goes to a different school that's kind of a hard, scrappy school in Chicago. And she meets Lydia there, who's kind of a loner, and Lydia starts sticking up for her and basically beating the crap out of people who mess with her. And this sort of unlikely friendship is born through their childhood, though Emily is dead set on trying to figure out how to fight miscreants and how to do something better, because, you know, she's tired of, she doesn't want other people to lose their parents or their loved ones. And her direction and her absolute, you know, controlling, you know, she's got to go do this thing. Nothing is going to stand in her way. So that causes her to estrange from Lydia, who's like sort of like somebody who would like to drink a beer at the bar and tell a fun story, you know. So anyway, so they wind up, you know, 30 years later, Lydia accidentally steals one of the powers that Emily was going to give herself, because now Emily is a billionaire. And she's learned how to give herself or others superpowers. So Lydia accidentally stumbles into one of the superpowers, and so an unlikely superhero duo is born.
Getting to be bionically strong is pretty fun, because you just start to think of, you're like, well, if I accidentally punch someone, like, it's not going to just hurt them, they're going to go across the room. Or if I like go to do a handle on a door, like, it's going to be destroyed. Like, I love watching someone, since I've acquired my superpowers, I love watching somebody stumble through it, because I always think that's the fun of it. A lot of times you're just automatically really cool and in possession of yourself, but I'm like, if overnight, if over like a couple of months, you become able to lift like a semi truck, you're gonna fall down a bit trying to do it. So Ben really leaned into it in the script of like, let's see how you learn to become a superhero, which I thought was really fun.
Well, I was supposed to get both powers, super strength and invisibility. But everything happens for a reason, I think. I think the person who was supposed to get the super strength got the super strength. But please don't tell her I said that, because, you know, then it becomes a thing and I don't get to be mad about it. But invisibility is good. I mean, who wouldn't want to be invisible?
My character became a crab due to an unfortunate thing that happened on his honeymoon. He was skinny dipping with his new bride, and they were swimming over a radioactive coral reef. You have to watch out for those. They're around. There's not a lot of them, but he and she found one, and up from this radioactive reef jumped a radioactive crab, and got him on his.
Yeah, so I play a character named the King. That's his title. That's what he wants to be called. Not king, but the king. And he is a very, very wealthy shipping magnate. And he has a superpower that's unbeknownst to people until it's revealed, in which he has super strength. He can easily, you know, he could pick up a building if he wanted to. And because of his wealth, he is able to gather together what are called the miscreants, who are kind of the bad guys in the movie who have superpowers. They're using them for malevolent purposes, and he sort of gathers them together, or as he puts it, unionizes them, in order to create havoc. And he's power hungry, and he wants to become the mayor and eventually become the president of the United States.
So she throws lasers, and she kind of manipulates energy in the form of a ball, and then she throws it.
We've all had friends that we were really close to as kids, and you kind of float away. And I don't know, I always think about people, you know, I still am friends with quite a few that I've been friends with forever, but some of us have drifted apart and then we've gotten back together. And I don't know, I think that's something that everybody roots for. Like that you're like, you have those long-standing friendships, and there's something really hopeful about it, that if you really love someone and you were really close, that like that closeness doesn't just fade away. Yeah. And then fighting, you know, bringing in justice and good versus evil, and that, you know, trying to do the right thing counts. It makes for a pretty epic story.
Thank God she and I haven't, you know, lost time together, but I can imagine a lot of people do. Life takes you, you know, in different directions, and to write a story that has all of this wonderful stuff going on, but at the center, it's about not just the friendship between these two women, but the idea that my character has spent so much time focusing on righting the wrongs of society that there's a big void in her relationship with her daughter. And it takes her best friend coming back into her life for her to realize that, you know, you're missing a lot of time. And because she lost her parents on, you don't know how long your time on earth is. So it was such a wonderful way to have that heart, for the story to have those legs, and for you to feel for all of these characters and root for them.
And it's delightful to see Melissa and Octavia in moments really catch each other. And these women have known each other for a long time, the actresses. And you can see their love and admiration for one another off screen, on screen.
As kids, Lydia and Emily were really good friends, and I think Emily took life really seriously because she always wanted to honor her parents, and she always wanted to live up to what people expected. And I think Lydia never really lived like that. I think she lived in the moment, and I think that's where the two differed. And later in life, they come together, and Lydia's traits and Emily's traits merge almost. You can almost see some sort of, I don't know, they come together as one. And I think it's really interesting to see how living in the moment with a little bit of structure can create a really, really great friendship.
I love wire stuff. Oh my God. Anytime I can be in a harness and like flipping around, it's like, you truly can defy, like I can't do any of that, but I'm like, yeah, put me on a wire and, you know, have me flip around or spin. The spinning was, I hadn't done that kind of spinning before. I've done flips and stuff, or jumps and, you know, stunts, but that was really a different thing to do. And a couple of times I was like, the first time I tried the really quick spin, I landed and I just, as my feet touched, I went, whoosh, and I was so dizzy that I didn't even know I was falling. And I was just about to hit the ground, and like a lovely guy caught me, and I was like, I didn't even know I was falling. Like, so it took a bit to get used to, but it's so fun and it's so dumb and it makes me laugh.
Well, Melissa wants to do too many stunts. And I always have to tell her, you're not doing that one. And she's finally getting, you know, because we have the most amazing stunt teams, and Wally Garcia and Lance, they've done an amazing job, you know, heading our teams. And then we have Lucy Romberg, who's one of the best stunt people in the world, and she's Melissa's stunt person. So sometimes I'm like, Melissa, you really want to jump into that thing? And I got Lucy, and she's a parkour champion, and she's standing right here, and it's on her back. And Melissa will finally be like, okay, I'll do it. Octavia shows up on set before anybody. She's in, you know, I'll just be trying to figure out a shot, and she's like, hey Ben, how you doing? And I'm like, she's in her super suit, she's camera ready, and I'm like, the cameras aren't even up yet. What do you? And she's like, no, I just like to feel the space. And I'm like, so I end up talking to her for a while, and I do all these, you know, first and second team rehearsals at the same time because, you know, there she is and she wants to do it. But it carries through in all of her work and all of Melissa's work that they're just both so prepared that of course they want to do their stunts, or at least understand completely how the stunt works so they can, you know, fill out their side of it and make it work nicely. So it's been, I think this is definitely the most stunts Octavia's ever done, so I think she's had a ball doing it so far.
It was really fun to work with the stunt team. You know, I love to watch the visuals, and you know, they create the scene already with the stunt people, and they show how the superpower, how the laser is going to be thrown in which direction and what would look cool, and you know, and so there's a discussion and there's like some tweaks that we make, and you know, it's I love doing that. I love, like, you know, like fight stuff. It's really fun.
When they were sizing me, you know, for it, I literally, you know, remembering jumping around playing with my little nephews because they like playing superheroes, and you do your own sound effects, and everybody knows martial arts. Basically, it's a dream that you get to actually live out, and they did an amazing job with these costumes.
Well, I wanted them to look just really, really to fit seamlessly into the world of superheroes. So my fear, if you start to go into super bright costumes, is you'll start to feel like we're the funny ones. You know, like my suit's the color of a tomato. I'm the tomato. Which, by the way, Thunder Force 2, the tomato. But we wanted it to just feel really, really real. So, you know, that starts to get into the grays and the blues and the darker hues. And Jose is so effortless with that. I mean, I think, you know, they were doing Black Panther's outfits and all this stuff where they all looked so incredible. So we sort of told him, Melissa and I were sort of talking to him about, we just want it to look really, really real. We want him to look really fierce, but also like a billionaire was able to create these suits with the help of these geniuses, and he caught on pretty easily. He's really good at it.
I love my super suit. I didn't know if it was going to be comfortable or tight because I don't know how these things work. The closest thing to a super suit I've had is a Party City outfit when I was 9. So I think this is cool, and I can maneuver. Yeah.
For him to be able to have written and then is directing a superhero movie, he's like kind of beside himself. And it's such a fun world because like anything can happen. You can have ultimate powers. There's heightened villains. I mean, it's a fun, super fun world to play in.
Ben is one of my best friends and loves what he does, and that's a bit infectious on the set. He's one of the kindest people you'll meet, and that sort of permeates the set as well, and it's just a really nice, comfortable, easy place to work, and that's a lot of what a director can and should do, and it just comes real easy to him.
So Ben Falcone, I know, was a big comic book fan growing up, so I know he'd always wanted to write a story like this. Of course, putting Melissa in the lead was a no-brainer for him, and I know Melissa wanted to work with Octavia. They both did. And so I think it fulfilled a couple of things for him. His sort of childhood dream of writing a superhero movie and getting to write it in a mixed comedy genre with the superhero genre, I think was really something he wanted to do, because we don't see it very often. And it also allows him to do what he does best, which is you know, work with a gang of performers who he knows are funny, who he could be very fluid with.
It was really, really great to work with Ben, and he gives you a lot of freedom, and he gives you new ideas and many ways to do the scene. And you know, he just really allowed me to bring my weirdness and my craziness, and with so much love and trust.